If you've been watching the news, you've probably heard about this term called woke generals. Woke being a term that describes people that are, huge into diversity, equity, and inclusion, and basically hating on a certain demographic that resembles me. But you've been hearing a lot about woke generals potentially getting fired by, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. And you've heard about a couple removals already. I think there was a Coast Guard female 4-star general that got fired. And I want to clear up some, misconceptions about what a woke general is and how these woke generals were created in the first place. So, like I said, a woke general is, depending on your perception, somebody that is all in diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, as I've explained many times, is not about equality. It's not about equity. It's about inverting, changing, flipping on its head the old power structures in the United States. It is a war. It is a war for your soul. It is a war to establish dominance and power and control for certain groups over others. That's all it is. Don't let anybody fool you. But the reason these woke generals came into being was because in the Army, at least from my experience, I'm in the Army. God bless America. In the Army, there's this thing called the Officer Evaluation Report. An officer is somebody who is commissioned by the government to a leadership role. You have 2 or 3 basic categories of, somebody in the military, somebody in the Army. You have officers who are like the leaders, the generals, the captains, the majors, the colonels. You have warrant officers who are specialists, and then they're a specialist in a very specific task. They're very good at it. And then you have the enlisted men, the grunts, from the private all the way to the sergeant major. Those are the 3 broad categories in the military. The officer ranks are highly political, cutthroat, and competitive. And in order to ensure that you get promoted, you have to basically go along to get along with what your superior officers say. You gotta get on your knees and fluff that colonel if you're a captain and you want that good OER. Because if you don't get a good OER, which is your annual grade, your annual evaluation, you literally can get kicked out of the military. We have an up or out system. So let's say you're a captain and you're going for major, the next rank, and you don't get promoted twice. You get passed over the promotion board, you're not diverse enough or whatever. And the promotion board decides not to promote you. Well, you're getting kicked out of the Army. You're done. So you've put in like 12, 13, 14 years. And, you're so close to getting that pension at 20 years. And you get kicked out at 14 years. And guess what? You don't get your pension. Same thing with being a major. If you're a major in 04 and you get passed over twice for promotion, you get kicked out before you get the pension. And you can get kicked out at like year 17. Now, if you think about that, that's pretty wild, right? You could serve for 18 years. So close, 2 years from getting that pension for life. And the Army kicks you out because you didn't get promoted and you don't get the pension. So it's very competitive because the stakes are so high in the officer ranks. And if you get one bad evaluation, you don't fluff that commanding officer enough, guess what? You get kicked out without a pension. So what do you think that does? Well, it makes officers highly competitive because they all want that top block OER. They all want to be rated as the best captain or best major so they can get that next rank. And it leads to massive conformity. Basically, whatever your rater, your evaluator wants is what you're going to give your evaluator. If your commander is all about running fast, magically all the officers start running a lot more. If your major, or if your boss or your rater is all about, leg strength or road marching, suddenly all the officers are all in on road marching. It leads to massive conformity. And it's the same thing with generals. So generals, it's very hard to become a general in the Army. You got to be like top tier, or at least top tier politician. And I think less than 1% make the cut for general. It's extremely difficult. It's an accomplishment to become a general. or at least a accomplishment with your fluffing skills. But the higher you go up in the ranks, the more political the military becomes. And what happens is, if you have an administration that is all about DEI and screw certain people, certain people that look like me, we're scum, we're trash, we're evil. Those politicians are going to support whatever the administration wants. So, of course, you had the Biden administration and, lovely Kamala. They were all about DEI. They were all about, favoring certain groups over other, quotas, et cetera, et cetera. And the military generals, because, they got to get their next star. I gotta move up. Screw my people. They followed exactly what the administration wanted. They did exactly what the administration wanted because they wanted to further their careers. You think most of these woke generals care about the troops? They don't give a rat's you know what. Most senior officers are completely disconnected from the average soldier. When you're a junior officer, like, when I was a lieutenant, I was a platoon leader. I was like with the Joes. I was down at the troop. I was a platoon leader. I had the sergeants and the privates, and we did all our things together, and I interacted with them all the time. And then once I finished becoming a platoon leader, I went to staff, and I was surrounded by officers. And the higher and higher and higher up you move, the less exposure you get to average Joe Schmo. So you're completely disconnected from what's going on, down in the grassroots of the military. You're completely removed, and you're more focused on impressing your boss so you can get that good OER to get promoted. And if your boss says, DEI is amazing, there's a huge problem with, pale-skinned people, they're really evil and nasty and disgusting, and you need to really root out all the toxic ideologies. And if somebody questions DEI and, questions of affirmative action promotions and promotions based on race, even though that's supposedly what we were fighting against in the 60s, but whatever. Well, you need to really step up on that, young colonel. You want that star? You want to be a general? You want to join the cigar club? You got to do what I want. And the colonel, oh, yes, sir. Oh, I'll do whatever you say, sir. Oh, DEI's amazing. Oh, yeah. That's how it happened. Most senior officers are political scum. They're freaking scum. Okay, I'm freaking saying it. Kick me out of the military. You think I care at this point? They're freaking scum, losers, and government slaves. And they got nothing. They can't do anything in the private sector. They're freaking unskilled, unemployable losers in the real world. So they got to fluff all they can to milk the government as much as they can. And the more they get promoted, the more they, can keep sucking on the government teat. So that's how woke generals came about. And I hope Hegseth purges those freaking loser scum. Because they're freaking scum of the earth. And what Trump's doing in the military, DEI, all the executive orders, is amazing. I mean, it's not going to last forever. We're going to have a resurgence of DEI. Guarantee it. But that's how woke generals came to be. The military is super political, super cutthroat competitive. And, most senior officers literally only care about them. So they don't give a crap about the Joes. Oh, one of those little scum down there fighting the wars. Oh, I'm going to get my pension. I got to raise my pension. Oh, I got to get my star. That's how the military works, okay? Bunch of drama BS. Bunch of psychopaths. Anyway, like, subscribe, check out the pinned comment, book a free tax consultation with me. I'm a certified public accountant. I will do your business or personal taxes. Any state in the United States. Free consultations, upfront quotes, dump TurboTax, dump your expensive CPA, come with your daddy, and have a wonderful day.